around SUNY and trying to sweat. It's not hard to do. No.
Yeah, lose that jacket.
Yeah, well,
Gotta go with summer suit.
yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you about that story
You
sometime.
can call meetings.
Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with our regular agenda. If you see there's somebody here from the public, that you have something you want to say or a question or comment?
Member of the town planning board.
Okay.
So I
Town
was
of Woodstock.
So I was just curious. I've never been to a meeting.
Okay.
Well, you're in for it.
You're in for entertainment and excitement, right? And that's why all of our meetings going back probably 5 years.
Yeah.
Are on YouTube, so if you can't sleep or you're really struggling with finding a
You want to know.
just so you know, it's all there.
The links on our website to all of these.
You watch all the enthusiasm that you can muster.
That's correct. Hey, I'm sorry, what town planning board is that? Okay, so we'll move on to the reading and the approval of our minutes for our May 16th, 2024 meeting. Need a motion to accept those?
So moved, Eric. I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Right.
To the finance report.
So we can start with check approval, the check detail that's in the packet.
So I need the approval of check details in our packet.
I'll make the motion.
Any second?
Aye.
Favor?
Aye.
And on to the cash flow
Cash
report.
I'll make a motion for the cash flow reports as presented.
Any second? All those in favor?
Aye.
So also in your packet is the Hunter Mountain ski lift application. So I've been in talks with Hunter Mountain for a couple months now before their project got announced about the ski lift enhancements. On page 6, there's the description. And then they are just requesting sales and use tax exemption. So today's motion would just be to accept the application for review of the board and to set up a planning board, or no, I'm sorry, public hearing meeting, which would take place in Hunter. I've already started drafting a finding statement and I can get that out to the board for review.
Do you have a date for that? Please?
Not yet,
Not
so
yet.
it'll be to be determined, but we
Okay.
would have it right at Hunter Mountain, so the community can come if they want to for the public hearing.
So if anybody doesn't have any questions or anything to add, need a motion to accept the application and to set a public hearing date. All right, public hearing with a date to be determined.
I'll make the motion.
Then the second,
I'll second that.
those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And then just moving on, the Carroll Water Sewer Extension. Working with the project, based on site conditions, we're changing it from a gravity, is it gravity fed to a 4-inch main?
Yeah.
So from gravity fed to 4-inch main, I did, right here, I was waiting on a final number for a change order, but it looks like it's going to stay within the budget. So there won't really be a change order, it'll be a credit for the line for the gravity fed. And they purchased the 4-inch main instead. So the town is aware of it, and so is the county. No motion, just an update. Our shovel ready initiative, Renee and I have been working. I do want to talk about the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, well, I'll give you a couple of things on that. The one being, Saki comp plan. So I met with the village and the town. The village has already put in a request. We have a formal request from the village for poke hunting. For those who weren't here last month, I don't know who was, it wasn't. Back 18 years ago, the IDA jointly funded with the two towns, the town and the village, a joint comprehensive plan. In fact, the only one I think in the county where the town and village have done a comprehensive plan jointly. And from our perspective, given that we count on this cooperation between these two to provide municipal infrastructure, water and sewer, it's really ideal that this happens. Again, the IDA played a strong role. We were 1/3 funding partner. What we proposed in this case was to be like $150,000 budget, 50-50-50 from each of the three parties. And we did a nice comprehensive plan. For 18 years, we followed that comprehensive plan. And in many cases, that comprehensive plan is really helpful and being supportive. So once again, as we sit here and look at part of the land base, the Saki town has no industrial land left at all, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but you should really visit that, know you don't have it, and make a decision why you don't have it or don't want it. And like in that case, what I would say is maybe you want to look through your allowed uses in your industrial and see if you need to add some to coordinate that, which is sort of industrial light, like that. So there's a lot of things that need to be looked at, but so right now, that's all very favorable from everybody. So that would be probably an 18-month process, I would say. And the 50 each from the three parties would also allow for making any final zoning changes or adjustments or other things that need to be done. So again, obviously, we're interested in, just because where we're at now, the land base under, Saki's got some large parcels that are multi-use. They'll never get multi-use if that's not. Won't happen. Colony, maybe. So we need to just look at stuff like that. Housing, we all keep saying we want direction from the towns on housing. Problem is the towns generally don't have direction. They're just like the rest of these places. They know that 9 out of 10 choices that they're likely to make is probably going to piss everybody off. Okay, because housing's why, but it is. So anyway, so that's it on that. We should get the letter from the town here pretty shortly, and then they'll come back and the board can take action at one time on that. In regards to some of the other parcels that we've been looking at, right now we're just waiting on money, numbers from consultants. It'd be really hard for us to see how the economy's bad, because everybody I worked with is just strapped. I'm waiting months for a proposal from guys that have been working for 30 years. They used to give me something a week, and they're just, I got it. So anyway, we're waiting on those. Ed Curtin was out looking at a site yesterday for the archaeology. So we should have them by next board meeting and make decisions on which project we might want to, which areas we might want to start doing a little bit of due diligence. Eric and I are going to talk. We're going to start with some outreach to some of the owners on that.
Can you say more about that? What land are you looking at, or just
Not in public.
okay? I mean, not with specific properties, but I guess the whole concept of what you're talking about. I just didn't follow.
Just again, following the comprehensive plan that's there now and encouraging them to get a new comprehensive plan so we can make sure we're all on the same. It'll be nothing different than what the IDA has done. Not for now. As much as we take nosebleeds all the time around here, nobody's done more for community character and funding projects and doing things right. We put aside at this point, for every acre we've developed, we have permanently conserved 2.5 acres. So, I can't imagine a tree hugger around that can't be very happy with our actions.
Mhm.
Nobody does that. I mean, that's extraordinary.
Yeah.
What we've done in land conservation, preservation, wetland creation. And so I also want to use this as an opportunity to kind of remind the community. So here's an example. Some of you may recall, the 9W81 intersection was becoming a constant flood problem. What's his name? Don, on the end of Warren Avenue. He was getting flooded. I got photos where there was water up to the windows in the parking lot at Greene Tops. Okay. That has not happened once since the IDA bought that one property, located our wetland mitigation on that property, designed our wetland mitigation to be a stormwater pond as well as a wetland. So people forget about how little ways of partners working together, what these benefits can be. So I'm looking, this is also as an opportunity as this goes through to bring some of these examples up. Flooding is obviously the climate change thing.
Mm-hmm.
We should use that as an example to try to promote. And I won't belabor all of this, but I had a big master plan in mind with some of the lands that we acquired for habitat that could very well have some of these same kind of weapons and go start to mitigate flooding in the community.
Okay.
So anyway, so there's a lot of, lastly,
Mhm.
I took over the IDA, we were in crisis. I left retired with the IDA in pretty good hands financially. And I'd like to do my final work, leaving community set up with wow, we just did a $6 million, chippy funds. And what I mean? I'm going to totally retire as a very happy man. I did my part to set the future. And the comprehensive planning and now the chippy funds to get some infrastructure moving in the right direction is all part of that. So that makes sense. So, and also, let me just finish up the stuff that I've been working on. So then people can finish the rest. On the chippy host fee, I have now been to every town and village since last meeting, I've been to every single town and village meeting that's gonna get fun. Every meeting has gone well. There's a few communities which we know, I sort of like went in there, like I have a cocktail before I go there. And even those meetings all went very well. And, I'm more and more encouraged that 18 months or so now, when we start to have projects lined up and making some motion forward, that, we're gonna see some, some really pretty significant things that are gonna set up well for the future. I keep telling them, this is it, we did this, and, we can either do this poorly and someday we're gonna get our bottom spanked, or we can do this right, and it's gonna serve as a model, so.
Renee, did any of those towns have a plan already ready to go, or were they still?
No, everybody, New Baltimore, the priority for them is to, get the infrastructure extended up 9W towards the thruway exit. I think we would all agree. I've been looking, there's not huge parcels up there, but there's some, between Sterrett's and there's some, not Sterrett's garage, but Jerry Sterrett's old house there that fall in.
Yeah.
But stuff like that, some of them are gonna need some guidance. All of them are widely open to the IDA playing a role in helping them. I've represented, as we've discussed, that if projects were consistent with IDA goals and objectives, say you want to run a sewer line here, we want to run one there. Okay, you pay for yours and we'll pay for ours, I guess. But if we both are on the same page and there's going to be benefits to the IDA too, then I said we'll be partners. I don't mean 50-50 necessarily, but it's not sustainable what we've done to keep doing economic development at 100%. Right. So it went well. What better than I thought? I thought there'd be a little kickback. I told them all, look, at the end of the day, the IDA board of directors makes the decisions. I'm just going to put a product in front of them that I think, that's my commission to do. But we really want this so that everybody signs on the line immediately. There's no back and forth. We don't want to be in a big enforcement role. So let's pick projects right and go from there. And then one other last thing that I'm working on is the Athens Gen Master Plan. So April and Eric met with Steve Cole once since the last meeting. That was on the land disposals. That's moving. But on the master plan, what we've done is I drafted an RFQ, request for qualifications for April, and we reviewed it together, and that went out in the mail last week.
Yes.
I think we went to maybe 10, 13 firms.
So I mailed it to certain firms and emailed it to whoever responded that they wanted to be on the list, but I haven't got anything back.
So we had like 4 or 5 good firms that responded back. They were interested in.
You got some responses back.
Yeah, well,
But they want to be on the list.
they want to,
Oh, okay.
yes.
All right.
And these were good companies. These were all good, but some qualified companies, for doing that. And again, for those who might not have been last month's meeting, is that we're going to move forward on hiring a specialist that is expertise in data centers. Okay, just because power, and now if we're going to start getting alternative power sources here, the power plant power source, it's just here's the bottom line: if you want to do business development, you develop for the businesses that are growing those business sectors. There's probably not any bigger business sector right now in the country after distribution than data centers. It's going to go through the roof.
Demand is high, and it's something we can actually, our area we can fit. We actually have a couple key components of the infrastructure.
So we got some things that we think are attractive. Access to that high speed fiber that goes down through maybe the water Athens Gen would be a benefit. But these would be, they wouldn't happen without a pilot, I'm sure, but they're not, you're not piloting a $10,000 basic concrete wall warehouse. You're piloting a $100 million or $52 million or $75 million data center. So even with a pilot, these are going to face pretty substantial numbers on it. So we thought we wanted to get that guy in place first and kind of get an idea of the scope of his assignment. And then the way we're handling this is we throw an RFQ out. If you're interested, it's a real basic, down and dirty general. Give us a sense of who you are. April and I will go through the firms. We'll pick what seems to be the best 2 or 3 of them. We'll do some Zoom interviews with them quickly. And then those candidates, maybe the top 3 candidates, will be asked to submit a proposal, how they will approach it, what's the scope of work, what's your sequence, what's your work tasks, and more importantly, cha-ching, what's the cost on that. And then it'll come back to the board when you guys will make a decision.
And our competitive advantage with respect to energy is plant or?
Well, so a couple things. One, you got Athens Gen and staff.
Yeah.
So we have generation. We have National Grid runs through the county, Central Hudson runs through, so you have two utility providers with energy infrastructure within the county. You have the large solar projects, et cetera, coming up. You have the other thing we have is very, very low natural disaster incidents. We get a little flooding streams, but they're really very isolated areas, as well as security, because they're not, they're looking to place these things where they're close to metro markets, like to fly in and out of. But they don't necessarily want to go to cities. They want to kind of have some place where they're quiet and there's going to be less disruption. So those things, and that's when I'm just dangerous enough what I know about what they need. Okay, so all the factors from my basic knowledge is there. We need somebody who does this and sells these projects to come in and do that. And I think that's pretty much most of the stuff.
That's enough.
Oh, well, one last thing is we are working on that the site evaluation for Baywa Energy for the IDA. The ecological situation. Everybody keep your fingers crossed for the next 10 months. Appear much better than it was. So I think we're gonna.
That's the parcel behind the village.
Yeah.
Okay.
There.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, that'll be a positive experience for us for once. And if not, I've already been working a plan on how to address. Okay, we have a weapon issue already addressed. We've never had a. So that's it. I'll shut up. I know Florence.
Okay.
Just trying to keep it quick before it gets too hot, but the only other update I forgot to add to the agenda was the old Save Lot building. Still, they did the due diligence for the new company that's looking to purchase it, and the tentative closing date is July 22nd. So,
That's fast.
they've
I've been
been
looking at it for a while.
Save Lot closed last February, and the broker's been working with several potential buyers. This one is very serious. As soon as I get more information about it, and closing is actually scheduled, I can present it to the board probably at the July meeting. I'm positive. Go ahead.
So the sewer situation in Casco, because I see Gateway Greene and just on.
Well, that's gonna go on to the next.
Oh, okay. You can start.
Go ahead. Gateway Greene, we're moving on to parks. Was there any other questions about any other projects that we have going on, and everything is status quo? Okay. Gateway Greene.
You start.
Okay, so the bids for the visitor center were due May 22nd. We did get some in. The county and I and the architects are all reviewing. Warren will be presenting it to his board at their workshop June 26th. Then I'll have a recommendation to our board on what our next steps are. There's actually no rush on our bids right this second because Stewart's is delayed a little bit. There's a Verizon line that runs to a pole that is in the Stewart's future stormwater area, and they can't finish that construction until Verizon gets their line off the pole, and then Central Hudson will move the pole. So now they're looking at a Labor Day opening. But we've been working with our tourism timeline and Stewart's opening. And the hotel is at the planning board stage, so everything is moving along.
Well, I mean, did you get a fair number of bids for the visitor center?
We did, they're just, the first bid, there was an error in the calculation, so they withdrew their first bid, and the second and third bid are over our budget. So we're working on the decision of, are we going to accept the second bid, or are we going to update the numbers in the bid package and roll addendums in or cut things out and then rebid? But we're not sure what our next steps are going to be.
I would suggest what you do is have the ordinance approve it, you go to rebid if that's the county's decision. Because they're really kind of driving the bus on that stuff, but that way you wouldn't have to necessarily wait.
Are there that many changes that we need to go?
There was
rebid?
4 addendums that we added in to clarify things within the original bid package. So we're going to clarify those in if we do rebid. I feel we're on that path to rebid. And then there's alts that we could cut out to reduce the cost. We have our 750,000 earmarked, and then the county's picking up the rest. So whatever the final bid numbers come in, the county will be paying for that. That's why it's sort of in their court. And so I guess we could make a motion to go to
I think
rebid.
it's premature.
Yeah.
So we do have the July meeting after, so I told them I would
I
present.
was just trying to understand these addendums, how the scope of those versus going to a full rebid.
Yeah.
Sometimes these,
How close were those two higher bids percentage?
There was about $500,000 discrepancy.
percentage budgets.
And on the sewer, which we talked about last month, the sewer situation down there.
For the hotel, right?
Yeah, well, not only, so right now, we went through hell and high water to get approval to extend that little lateral across the street. The only reason the guy from DC said he approved it is because stewards in the tourism center, which were already on the system, would be allowed on the system. Should have hooked that flipping hotel up when it was vacant. You know, we should have just put a sign out there, rented one room for a night, hook the damn sewer, it would save us a lot of trouble. But instead of doing it right, you know, and not hooking up crap, we decided that. So investigating, long story short, it's incredible to me still in this day and age that if I want to get a permit to put 1 foot in a wetland, I got like 18 months to go through hell and high water. Yet with these sewer districts, you know, the municipality produces a plan and the regulatory agencies just kind of approve the plan with a 1-page letter. So what happened in this case is, you know, they designed the system, they entered into an intermunicipal agreement, cooperative, municipal cooperative.
I mean,
Yeah, and then the thing set up for the town to get 330,000 gallons a day from village in capacity treatment units. Okay, so that's my first question I'm saying to these guys is, how the hell can somebody approve a whole new water district being created and the town entering into an agreement and everything, and all of a sudden there's no capacity or no ability? And if you go back into, so if you go back to the water sewer agreement between the town and the village, there's a clause in there that says the 330,000 is contingent upon regulatory agency approval. So basically that clause just signs any course of action to that agreement. The plan, again, same thing, I've been waiting on to get it, but the plan is just strictly, long story short, there seems to be no recourse to anybody if the hold defeat to the fire that the town made almost a $13, $14 million investment with the premise that there'd be future economic development. Now, Mary Beth tells me she figures probably right now the town system's using about 50,000 in that district. Far cry short of 330.
Yeah, we have
Okay.
huge capacity there.
And what this all really comes, so then my point was, is how did you even get this approved to add a new sewer district? You already had a failing sewer plant, you know, what the hell? But Catskill's different. It's what they call a CSO community, a combined sensory outfall. Whereas Coxsackie is not, even though they have some sections that are combined. And so they're not under an order on consent, like with a strict moratorium. As that kind of labeled community, you have to undergo additional scrutiny for new conditions. Well, this guy, Jamie Malcolm, who's a regional engineer for Region 4, who's been a thorn in our ass in here in Greene County for years. He pisses off enough people, then they move some other county for a few years, and he comes back again. But that's what it's really down to. A bunch of engineers at one time, and the regional engineer decided we could do this, here's capacity. The plant does need, you know, work to separate the sanitary, but we're not going to tell you no more hookups. Now there's